Okay, so to get started, I'm gonna link everything I use down below, just because like I don't want it to be like this super long story time and me talking about the products, because this story is pretty weird. So I might mention like a few products that I'm using, but overall I'll just link everything I use down below. Okay, so I would like to preface this story by letting you guys know that it is like very just, I don't even want to say TMI because it's not about me, but like I'm just gonna put it all out there. Some of the things that we talked about are just like kind of out graphic in a way, but you know, I'm not really gonna spare you guys any of it because I wasn't spared any of it, and that's gonna be how this goes. So if you're easily offended or you don't like to discuss bodily topics, then just like click off right now. So okay, so a couple months ago I started to have really severe knee pain, and I don't really like doctors. I believe in modern medicine. I just get scared. Anxiety. So I was like, oh, let me try to go to like acupuncture, because I've never done that before, and it's not like, in my mind, it's not like a doctor's office, and that could be cool, you know, West Coast Cali of me. So I did a bunch of Yelp reviews, and I found this lady who is like highly recommended in California, like where I live, and like rave reviews. She had even like her own little like kind of like a hype video for her practice, and I was like, okay, cool, like she knows social media, like she's obviously really trying, she has really good reviews, I'll go. Okay, so I make an appointment, and I, in preparation, watched like a bunch of videos on like acupuncture, just so I was like prepared and like knew what to expect, etc, etc. So I show up and they tell you to come like with not a lot of makeup on, just like, you know, natural. So that's what I do. And when I show up, it's kind of like this tiny office that looks more like a little bit of like a home, you know, but it's not her home. It's definitely just a business, but very small office. And I go inside, and there's probably like 3 rooms, but then like it's just like her desk, like right away you walk into like her office kind of, and there's all these like herbs and like spices and like mushroom things on the walls, like all of her Chinese medicine behind her, and then like these 3 rooms to the side. So I like get there and I'm just like, hello, like, you know, it's kind of awkward because it's like not a doctor setting, so like I didn't really know what to do. And so I am sitting like just right in front of her, and she has me go like, there's like this tiny like lobby kind of on the other side of the wall, and she has me go sit over there and fill out paperwork just like any other doctor, of course. So I'm filling out the paperwork, and it is asking, you know, the typical questions, and then like very similar to a chiropractor, it has like a body diagram, and you like circle like where you have pain. Okay, so I'm circling like where I have my pain. I fill out the paperwork, and I'm like, okay, like here you go. So I'm sitting there, and she's like, okay, let's like go and just, let's you and I talk about, you know, your symptoms and everything you filled out on your charts. And I'm like, okay, this is like very standard. Nothing weird yet. And so we're sitting there talking, and she's like, okay, where's your pain? And I'm telling her like my knees, and right away, this is when it starts getting weird. So right away she's like, oh, and you kind of circled like your lower back. And I'm like, yeah, like my lower back hurts like a little bit, but I was like, I think it's just the culmination. I've been doing Orange Theory Fitness and then my new job where I'm on my feet a lot more than my old job. So I think my body just is like, you know, having a hard time adjusting. And so she's like, okay. And she's like, where else does it hurt? And I'm like, nowhere. Like, that's pretty much it, girlfriend. Like, I don't know what else to tell you. And she's like, well, it's better for your insurance if you say it hurts in more places. And I'm like, I have really good insurance. Like, I literally only have to pay $25 to come here. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, well, huh? Like, okay. And she's like, so where else? Like, does it ever hurt like in your upper back? And I'm like, yeah. Like at this point, I'm like, am I like supposed to be following along with her? Am I supposed to be like, no, it doesn't hurt? Like just, so I was like, oh God. So my hands started to sweat, right? Like I'm just like getting nervous about the whole thing. And I just feel uneasy because I feel like doctors don't normally like not juke the system, but like juke the system. And so I didn't really know what to do. And we're talking about where it hurts. And then she's like, how long has it hurt? And I was like, I don't know, maybe like, you know, 4 or 5 months. And she's like, maybe like 6 or 7. And I'm like, what? No. I was like, no, that's not how long it's been hurting. Like that for sure. I was like, no, like, so anyways, we get through that whole debacle of like what like freaking body pains I'm gonna claim to my insurance. And so then she's like, okay, let's talk about like your charts. And she starts to tell me that like, you know, her family's been in Chinese medicine for like, you know, 400 years. Like everyone in her family does this. It's like how she grew up, which is really cool, right? Like it's like a tradition passed down. So I'm listening to her just like go on and on and on. So we start talking about what I filled out on my charts, which some of this like of course is basic stuff, right? Like about what's going on. And this is where, like I said, it might be TMI, and this is where it gets juicy. So y'all just buckle up. This is what you're waiting for. So we get to the point where, you know, she's asking me, do you smoke? And I'm like, no. Do you do drugs? I'm like, no. And she's like, do you drink? And I'm like, literally barely. Like it's an insult to people who drink to say that I drink. So I was like, maybe like a couple times a month, but like that's on the excess side of it. And it's really hard for a lot of people to believe me when I say that. Like even her, she was like, oh wow, that's good, that's good. And I'm like, yeah, it's just I don't know, I'm lame. So I'm like feeling good, right? I'm like, oh wow, she thinks I'm healthy, like I don't have cancer, you know? So I was like, you know, all right, this is going pretty well. I was getting too excited ahead of myself. So she starts to read, you know, my medical history. You know how they ask about like your family, all that stuff. So, you know, we're talking about different things that run in my family, and I'm telling her like genetic testing we've had done, like I'm good, you know. So then we get to the medications that I'm currently on. Because that's very important to disclose to your doctors, no matter, even if it's a chiropractor, like chiropractor, Chinese acupuncturist, whatever, like even though they're not going to be giving me medicine, it's just important for them to know, right? So I don't take any medicine, but I am on birth control. My doctor put me on that to help with ovarian cysts. So I'm on birth control, and I put that down because it literally said like medications like including birth control, you know? So I was like, oh, okay, because normally I wouldn't put that down. I don't really consider it a medication, which I guess like I should, but any hoosers. So she's like, oh my God. And I'm like, what? Like I'm like getting all nervous. She's like, how long have you been on birth control? And I was like, maybe like 1.5 years. She's like, the damage is already done. I'm sorry. I'm like, what damage? Like, what are you talking about? And she's like, if you're ever gonna be able to have children, the damage is already done. And I'm like, I think we know what we would do in like weird moments, or like, but when you are truly so caught off guard and like in an environment that you literally don't like know like what's going on, and mind you, I'm the only person in this whole building, like just me and her, y'all. Like at one point I was like getting really scared. Okay, So, so she's like, the damage is already done. And I'm just like, really? Like, and honestly, y'all, at this point, I don't want to say I'm like bought into her, but like, she's a doctor with great reviews. I'm not in the medical profession at all. So I don't, like, even though I feel like she doesn't know what she's talking about, I don't know what I'm talking about. So I felt like I couldn't argue with her. It was rough. Let me blend this out so I can keep talking. Okay, we're blended halfway. Okay, so she's like, if the damage isn't already done. And I'm just like, well, and here we go. She's like, she's asking me like how, like what personal birth control like cycle I'm on, right? Like, do I take a week off? Do I not? Whatever. So I was like telling her that the doctor that I saw told me not to take a week off because of my ovarian cyst. So I'm like, no, like I pretty much just like keep it rolling, you know? And she's like, oh my God. And like the genuine fear in her face like started to make me really anxious, okay? So she's like, I specialize in fertility and every person who's ever come here that wants to get pregnant gets pregnant. And we work for months. You tell me when you want to get pregnant and you get pregnant and you have to get off birth control. You have to today. You have to stop. Are you gonna stop? And I'm like, but I don't want to get, she's like, are you gonna stop? And I'm like, I don't want to get pregnant. And she's like, we can talk about all the other ways that you can like prevent pregnancy without being on birth control. And I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, I know the ways. and I'm like, okay, I'll think about it. And so I started to almost have this like realization that I'm gonna like have to go along with her to like keep this thing going. So I'm like, okay, that's like really scary. And so then she's asking me about my periods, okay? So this is where all shit hits the fan, okay? Oh God, you guys, when I tell you this happened to me like over a month ago, probably like 2 months ago, and I'm still not over it. It was so weird. Oh my God, hold on, I need to set my face. Because I have dry skin, but I do use powder under my eyes and on my forehead, I like to set my face right afterwards so it doesn't get super, super, super dehydrated. Okay. Oh, y'all. Okay, like I said, the more I think about it, the more I'm just like, I've been got. Like, I was punked. 100% this bitch punked my ass. Okay, so also I'm going to be using the new Lolita palette from Kat Von D. I've been wearing this every single day. I am like, look at these colors. There's not a weird color in here. Like, everything is so wearable. You have to get this palette, okay? That's my only PSA. Okay, so we're talking about my periods, right? And she's like asking me all these intrusive questions. Then she like turns a page in her mind and is trying to like school me. So she's like, did you know, if I am lying, God, like I swear you guys, I'm not making this up at all. She goes, did you know that periods aren't blood? No, I did not know that, because that contradicts literally everything I was ever taught. And I'm like, what? And she's like, periods aren't blood. And I'm like, okay. Like I said, I walked away thinking like, was I just completely punked? Did I just like, was this like a witch doctor? Like, I don't know, y'all. So, but again, because I'm not a medical professional, like, who am I to be like, yes, they are? What do I know? I don't. At the end of the day, I only know what I've been told. Okay, so she's like, periods are not blood. And I'm like, so like, what are they? She proceeds to tell me, that periods are expelled breast milk. Expelled breast milk. And that while the whole time that we're not, you know, basically every month, essentially in like the PMSing time, that our body like is prepping to be pregnant, facts, okay? That we are getting breast milk. And then when we don't get pregnant, the breast milk that we aren't gonna need to keep producing has to leave our body. And that is what our periods are. Expelled breast milk. So I'm sitting there like, wow, what? And I can't decide if I'm having like an epiphany, like if like this like secret world of medicine that I've been unaware of is like being disclosed to me, or if I am literally like being so fooled. I was shocked, okay? So she proceeds to say, you know, even if you, y'all, oh my God, I feel like as I say this out loud, it just doesn't even sound real, but it was, this is what happened. She's like, yeah, so basically because your periods aren't blood, she said there can be some blood mixed in it. That's where it gets its color, because it has to come through your body, and on the way out, like it can be like tinted, but it's breast milk, like coated from your insides essentially. So then she tells me that if you like, sometimes you might not get a period that month, but if you have the runs, as in the shits, that is also a period. And she's like, so sometimes you might not have like a vaginal period, but if you have like diarrhea all week, that's also the breast milk coming out of your body. So I'm like, so you're telling me that if I don't have a period one month, but I have the shits, that I'm not gonna get pregnant? Is that like, she's like, yes, that it's the same thing as a period. I can't. So in that moment, I lost like a lot of trust, because I'm like, that is completely absurd. Like completely absurd. I have never, ever heard of that. Can you imagine like dating in high school and stuff, and your boyfriend and you like do the nasties, and then, which that was not me by the way. Dawn, don't you freaking worry, girl. But what I'm saying is, at any point in your life, can you imagine doing the nasties, and then your man's like, did you get your period? You're like, no, but I had diarrhea. So we're good. We're totally good. Like, my wheels were like not turning on that statement that she made. So I'm just like, oh my God, I want to get out of here. Now, at this point, my hands are really sweating because I'm getting really anxious, because I'm starting to think like this is some total BS. Like, I don't want to be here anymore. I don't trust her. And we have not even gotten to the acupuncture part. So she's like spent about an hour going over my charts. Like the story I just told you guys took place over like the span of a literal hour. I'm freaking out, right? Because it's taking so long. She's grilling me on medical questions, which is already where my anxiety comes from, is like dying. So I'm like, please don't make me think I'm dying. Like, so anyways, she's like, okay, come into this little room. So there's like, mind you, when you walk into her office, you're like looking at these 3 doors that are like her like medical rooms, okay? I'm the only one in the office, mind you, but like anyone at any point could like walk in. So I'm in like the middle room, and I am looking like, so this is like so hard to describe. I walk into the room, and then she has me kind of like turn around and sit down on a chair. So I'm like looking out into the lobby where I just was sitting. The door's wide open, wide open. She sits behind me and starts pulling my leggings down. My whole butt cheeks are like on the chair, out. Like for her and God to see. Like my whole butt is out. Anyone could walk into the lobby at this point. Like, you guys, I'm freaking out. Like in my heart, I'm like panicking. And I'm like, holy crap, like what is she doing? Like someone could walk in, like my whole booty is out, like, oh my God, like what is going on? And she's like feeling around on my back, like my lower back, and she's telling me that I have two compressed lower discs in my back, and that's where my knee pain is coming from. Does that make sense? Maybe. I don't really know my anatomy, so, but like I can understand where like compressed back, like my knees, just like everything would not be like flowing well. So she's like, did you ever have a really bad fall as a child? Mind you, I did not play sports. I was a dancer, I was a singer, I was an actress. I did not play sports, I did not fall. I was not active, I was not brave, I was not rowdy. I'm like, no. She's like, you did, you must have. Your compressed discs have been here since you were a child. It could have been a childhood fall. I'm like, a childhood fall? Like, as in what, when I was like 2? Like, what? And I'm just like, holy crap, okay, do I have these? She's, and then, oh, this is the clincher. She's like feeling my back, and she's like, you have compressed discs. You can't fight that. It's just like, it's science. Like, I can feel it, okay? So at that point, I definitely am believing her on that, because I'm like, okay, she obviously studies the body. If I have compressed discs, she can feel that. So, okay, that's obviously like I have a problem. So anyways, fast forward, we go back to her office. She's telling me that really I need to get cupping done, her method of cupping, but that it would bleed me. I'm like, she's like, I would bleed you. And I'm like, what? And she was like, her English was good, but it wasn't like clear English, but I do really well with accents. So I was like understanding her like the whole time, except for like right in this moment. I'm like, she's like talking about her cupping methods, and she's like, but I bleed you. And I'm like, I'm sorry. And she's like, I bleed you. And I'm like, you bleed me? And I'm like, you would make me bleed? And she's like, yes. And I'm like, you'd make me bleed? Because like I've had cupping done before. I've not been bleeding. She's like, she's like telling me that she takes this tool and like pricks your skin and then cups you, and so you bleed a lot, but it pulls all the toxins out of your blood. I'm like, that's a no from me. Thank you. I'd rather just do acupuncture today. That's what I was prepared for mentally. I have anxiety. I can't just like switch up like that. So I'd like to just do like regular acupuncture today, please. She's like, okay, fine. She has me sit in the chair, like in the lobby. This is casual AF, okay? At this point, like her daughter or somebody is here, and she has her like daughter like roll out like a little tray with the needles and stuff on them. And she's like feeling around on my head like really hard, like fucking like just digging into my skull, which kind of hurt, okay? And she's like, I guess feeling around for like where to put the needles based on my pain, which I'm like, okay, that makes sense. And so she's doing that, and then she starts sticking the needles in. Does not hurt at all. You cannot feel the needles. Like, I have pulled out a hair on my head that hurt worse than the needles. You literally don't feel them, okay? At all. She had to tell me they were in. Like, I could feel it, like, I knew they were in because she would like flick them. So like I knew they were in there, but I didn't feel them going in at all. So I'm not nervous about that process, because after she does the first one, I'm like, oh, you literally don't feel it. So I'm just sitting there chilling while she's, you know, doing the thing, doing the acupuncture. And she keeps like going, you know, I feel like she was putting like a lot in my head. And then she made a comment like towards the back of my head. She was like getting in these like pressure points. And she's like, oh, I keep losing the spot. You have so much hair, you guys. Like, I don't have that much hair. I used to have way more hair. And I'm also thinking, like, if you've been doing this for 400 years, why does my hair have anything to do with like you not being able to find the spot? Like, so then I was like, So anyways, she like, we get through with all that. Okay, the needles are in. The needles are in, and the only thing that hurt was when she got the needles in the back of my head, like right back here. The needles, like, they go in, but then they have these like things attached to them before she takes it off. So she like puts it in my head, and then she was like wiggling it. Like this is, I'm just gonna use this like brush. So imagine like this is the needle, and like this is like what she holds on to put it in. She's like wiggling it, like freaking getting it in there, and it's like going deeper and deeper into my skull. And at that point I can feel it. I get chills thinking about it, because then she's like hitting the pressure point, and it's like, whoo, it's like a rush through your body, which I'm like thinking that's probably the point, right? It's like some different type of medicine where it's like she's hitting these pressure points, it's releasing these like waves in your body. So it didn't frighten me as far as like the technique, but it didn't feel good. It actually kind of hurt, because she's just like digging in on these little pressure points, and I was like, ugh. Like at one point I was like, please stop. Like I couldn't take it anymore, and I pride myself on having a high pain tolerance. This is where the fun comes in. So she puts some needles on my head, and then you guys, I feel like such an idiot. She's like, as she was putting in the needles, she was like keep coughing, just like and I think that was a like a technique, so I wasn't focusing like on the if it was gonna hurt me. I wasn't feeling any pain, because like whatever. Then she tells me that coughing though helps the needles go in deeper, and I'm like, okay, I don't understand, but sure. Then she puts needles in my head, and I had read online that you can actually kind of feel lightheaded, and I did. I kind of felt lightheaded, and I was like, whew, okay. And I think it's just because she had those pressure points. I'm getting like these like waves of energy through my body from her hitting the pressure points, and I think it just made me feel a little woozy. So she's like, okay, stand up. So I stand up, and she's like, you have to stomp and cough, like so y'all, that's what I'm doing. And she said like the stomping and the coughing just helps the needles go in a little bit. So I do that for like 5 seconds, and then she's like, okay, what you're gonna do now is you're gonna go on a 10-minute walk. A 10-minute walk down the street, and every couple feet I need you to stomp and cough and stomp and cough and stomp and cough. But the needles have to stay in your head for like 10 to 15 minutes. So just go on a walk, get some fresh air, but stomp and cough. I'm like, I'm sorry. I have to go outside. Her office is like in a part of town where there's like people driving by, like people walking. I have 12 needles in my head. And I'm like, can I take my phone? Like, so she's like, yeah. I left my purse, which like in hindsight wasn't smart, because like had she been sketchy, she could have taken all my money. But I go on a walk, and I'm like FaceTiming my mom, and I'm like, Mom. And I'm like, this is so weird. And like, God forbid something goes down. Like, I just want you to like see in real time, like what's happening. Also, I'm like looking to find this picture that I found of the acupuncture. And I'm walking down the street, and I'm stomping and I'm coughing, and I don't know what's going on. But I was like, this lady has really good reviews. I just like, I don't know exactly like what to do. So literally, you guys, I am walking on the street like like a freaking idiot. And I'm FaceTiming my mom, because I just, at this point, I'm like, this is sus AF. I don't feel comfortable. And I'm like, someone's gonna call 911, because it's like this girl with needles in her head is like walking down the street, stomping and coughing like a fool. And like, someone's gonna think I need help. So the story's almost over. Which at this point, I'm like, I'll get ready off camera and then come back. But, so I like come back in after 10 minutes, and she put a few more needles in my head, but like she made me, so I was telling her like what things I do that make my knees hurt. So then she's like, takes the needles out after a few minutes, and then is like, okay, go like do a body squat on your, like get down on your knees, jump back up, and like stand up. Because that's what I was telling her, like at Orange Theory was like hurting my knees. I could always tell. She has me do it, and oh, sorry. I came back in with the needles, she took them out, she had me do that. And then she's like, how do you feel? And I'm like, that hurt. My knees still hurt, that really hurt. She's like, sit down, puts more needles in my head. Okay, I sat there for like 5 minutes. Then she's like, okay, do it again. And I'm like, what the heck? Like, this hurts. So I like do it again, and then I get up, and I'm like, it's a miracle. Oh my God. oh my God, my knees feel so good. I was like, wow. I was like, she's like 90% better. And I'm like, yes, like 90% better. Oh my God. She's like, you're welcome. She tells me to pay her in cash next time because my insurance, okay, she's just sketchy AF. She tells me to pay her in cash because she has to pay a percentage of my card on her Square app on top of the insurance BS, which I did not like. I just thought, like, it's not my fault that you wanted to run your own business. Like, that's part of it, girl. My knees did not feel better. They still hurt, but I was like freaking out. I'm like, I have to get out of here. So long story short, I leave. A week later, I go to the chiropractor. I'm telling him about this ordeal. He's like, you can't feel discs. You have to feel a disc. You can't feel. He's like, you physically cannot feel a compressed disc. Like, that's like something an x-ray would have to do. I also Googled breast milk, periods. There is literally no literature on Google, on all of Google, about her claim. I also confirmed with 4 different medical professionals on that claim. Absolutely false. Like, what? I'm just like, okay, I am so confused. Like, I'm so confused. And like, I just don't believe in it anymore. Like, at all. And I've been going to the chiropractor. I feel great. Like, you guys, it was the weirdest day of my life. If you have any experience like this, or if you've ever been to a Chinese medicine doctor and they told you something similar, please let me know down below because I'm literally so confused. So yeah, that was my story, you guys. I'm basically just gonna jump off here, do my regular nose contour, my eyeliner, and my lashes, and I'm done for the day. So thank you guys so much for watching. That was like, I know this story doesn't have like a good ending, but the meat is what it's about. So thank you guys so much for watching. I will try to film and upload over the holidays. But as always, follow me on Instagram if you want to keep up with my shenanigans. It's really fun over there. And I will see you guys next time.